our mindset about managing soils, which is why it's good to be working with LKAB Minerals today, is absolutely crucial in the way we work our land. In agricultural college, back in the 80s, we basically managed the land from a bag or a bottle. We just put stuff on the ground to help stuff grow. Now we're learning, like our grandfathers did, I suppose, to go under the ground. We're looking at the mineral makeup of that ground, the nutritional capacity of our soils to be able to optimize the yield at a good profit.
We're not liming enough throughout the country whatsoever, and everyone forgets about the losses of fertiliser application against pH. So for example, if you're on a 5.8, you're losing 40% of your N uptake straight away without even thinking about it, never mind P and K.
And so with the pH, where do you want to be? Neutral at 7?
6.5 to 7 in all fairness. There's a bit of a bone of contention with the RB209 because the RB209 says that grassland should be 6. But then you've got nitrogen losses at grassland at 6. It says silage ground should be pH of 6, but if you're doing 3 cuts a year, 6 all of a sudden becomes a 5.8. And then why do they say on a grass reseed you need to be a 6.5 when you get the recommendation back from the lab?
And so we're not just talking arable cropping, are we? No. Grassland as well, grassland across the whole farm?
Well. Across the whole farm. Grassland is so important also for animal health. So a higher pH locks up all the nasties and the trace elements that the animals don't want, and then it releases out all the goodness and allows the fertiliser to work properly.
I'm learning all the time. So Gary, I live on top of the Cotswolds, lots of limestone, but we do have areas of acidity on the farm. And in the old days, we'd probably lime every 5 years, but there's a changing thought process now, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely, that's correct, Adam. There's this perceived wisdom that liming every 5 years is an acceptable level. I think science has moved on, technology, we have a lot more information to hand these days, and soil chemistry is hugely important to the yields and to the real health of the plants. And so, yeah, we're absolutely trying to challenge that mentality. We think that adding lime to soil, getting that pH to the right level is super important, and really we believe there's an argument that you should be looking at the soil chemistry on an annual basis, liming every year, and so yeah, we have a real campaign going to try and challenge that perceived wisdom.
And as farmers, we are now soil testing much more regularly, aren't we? And we're getting a better understanding of the science and the technology behind managing our soils.
Yeah, that's correct, and I think that's a really good step forward, and we need to embrace that. And as a company, we try and embrace that. We have a lot of agronomy support within our business. We really encourage taking a closer look at soil chemistry because it is really, really important, and we think that by getting the right nutrients in, by getting the pH of the soil correct, it's just it's super advantageous for the health of the crops.
The science behind soils and the applications that we need to put into our soils, I mentioned the technology and some of the soil testing we have now is absolutely critical and key to be able to make the right decisions in the way we take things forward. Getting the pH levels right in your soil, of course, is absolutely key. And the way that your crops can absorb minerals and nutrients from the ground, we're learning more and more about the balance of those, just like we would with our vitamins and minerals that we put into our own bodies or that we put into our animals, our poultry or our sheep. We know about human nutrition, but we're learning much more about plant nutrition, how those plants interact with the soil and the minerals and the capabilities of yield that we can get by doing the right thing. So in the way you're farming, you really feel that the management of soils is essential?
Yes, definitely. The roots are what I mainly look for because we're on chalk soils and water brings the chalk to the surface, so the roots and that are suppressing all of that chalk down on the soil. And I found if you use manures on their own, you can get big yields increases, but using both cover crops and manures, which I do for all my spring crops, it just is a different kettle of fish. The bacteria breaks down differently, worm counts go through the roof,
Is that because of the pH, do you think, with the calcium coming up?
Yes, it is. So the calcium comes up, so it gives us pH 8 and that. So I'm slowly getting it down to sort of 7.5, but it's harder to get it down than it is to increase it up with the lime and everything.
I think for farmers around the country, I think it's about trying to maximise your resources and trying to grow your business, but in a very sustainable way. And some of the products that we offer, like Calcifert Sulphur, Calcifert Lime, Calcifert LS, they're all products that can help farmers to make their farms more productive and utilise the materials they've got better and make them more profitable in the long run.
Unfortunately, we're quite high above sea level. We've got high pH, so we have got some inherent problems with the soil. So it's about really what we can do to try and improve that, either with cover crops, living roots, chemically, trying to make it work harder for us and increase organic matter and hold on to nutrients, really, so we're not wasting them.
Absolutely. So do you tend to do a lot of agronomy tests on the soil so that you can actually work out what sort of products that you put onto them?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of really in-depth specific soil sampling to areas, have a look at the chemical makeup of it and see how we can improve it. And that's the sort of journey that we're just starting on, really. So it's interesting to come to places like this, look at your products and see how they can help us in the future.
You're changing slightly from arable farming over to other types of farming as well. So will that change the agronomy or the way you treat the soils as well?
I'm hoping that will only improve the soils, really. So if we're actually giving it a break from them continuous crops, we're still going to be growing crops because ultimately everybody needs to eat. But actually doing other cover crops, other schemes that we can actually make some money out of. It's quite tough out there and we need to be sustainable.
Do you consider soil health as a factor when it comes to boosting crop yield?
I think it's probably the most essential thing we're dealing with on the farm. Everything comes from the ground. Loving the soil and managing it in the right way is something that perhaps me and many other farmers have overlooked over the years that we've been farming, and it's something that is now at the pinnacle of our thought process. So we are using a contractor to do some fantastic soil testing. We've done some scanning of the fields. We've got anecdotal evidence of what we've got where with the experience of the team. And I think it's primarily one of the most important things that we're looking at the moment. And so it's why I was keen to come and meet you guys and work with you today to hear where you're coming from. And I've learned quite a lot being on the stand and speaking to some of your customers. And I think it's the way forward. Loving the environment from the ground up and managing your crops from the wealth and health of the soil is absolutely essential.